Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dr. Eddie Connor.
It's 2005, and I'm in a convenience store doing my own shopping, minding my business. And all of a sudden, a guy who I remember from church approaches me abruptly as I turn around, wondering what's going on as he's almost running towards me. And in some way, shape, or form, he shockingly just says to me and just screams out, "I thought you died." Now, I was taken aback immediately and didn't know what to say. I mean, I can't get a hello. I mean, we Detroiters, I can't get a what up, though. And I felt what I'd never felt in my body before, because I pretty much of a cool, calm, collected guy, but all of a sudden I'm feeling this surge of heat rush through my body. And my hands move from being straight to now I'm clenching my fist. I literally wanted to go oops upside that brother's head. I was having a Will Smith moment, and I wanted to slap him as if he was Chris Rock, and this wasn't even the Oscars. And his words, "I thought you died," were like the hands of a bully pushing me. And it forced me back into January 2nd of 1998 on a cold and snowy day. That day of January 2nd, ironically, was on a Friday. It was a bad Friday, and nothing was good about it. Because on that day, I thought I died too. I was sitting over my friend's house watching a football game. Just a regular old high school kid, couldn't breathe by halftime. Now, mind you, I'd been having chest pains in my body for the last 2-3 weeks, to the point that I was lethargic and lazy and sleeping in class and school. And I pretty much like school. You know, my favorite 2 classes in school were gym and lunch. I'd love to chase the girls in gym and then sit down and eat with them at lunch. And I was dealing with these chest pains to where my mother would walk in the hallways as I'm at the house, and she says, "Something's not right with you, and you don't seem like the Eddie I know." I said, "Mom, I'm all right," because as boys becoming men, we're not allowed to even express our pain. Pain is seemingly weakness leaving the body. And I was dealing with this pain in my heart, and it coincided with the pain in my heart from my parents' divorce. It coincided from my father not being there in my life, and I'm over at my friend's house watching this football game, and the pains had been exacerbated for the last 2 weeks, and now it felt as if somebody was literally stabbing me in my chest. Watching this football game, and by halftime, I'm clutching my chest and I can't breathe. Every other breath, I'm skipping it, and I say, "Hey, man, one of the things I hate to say is, I need help." And that's exactly what I said to my friend. "I need you to help me," as I'm gripping my chest. His mother rushes in out of the kitchen and into the living room, gathers me up and takes me to the hospital. My mother meets me there. As we're in the hospital, I'm taken immediately to ICU, and I'm laying on this hospital gurney, arms outstretched, and I'm looking into this bright light, wondering, will that be my next destination? Because as I'm laying out, it feels as if each and every single breath is closer to death. I'm seeing doctors swirling around my hospital bed and nurses scratching their head, wondering what's going on. They can't figure it out, and so they do a CT scan of the chest, they do an X-ray, and they feel that they need to take me to surgery immediately. As they take me to surgery, they cut me open, and they see my cells in my body are growing so fast they could see them growing with the naked eye. Around my heart, my trachea, my esophagus, my voice box, a place where I'm speaking and testifying out of to you tonight. I felt great coming out of surgery, and I can finally, I've been waiting to exhale. I feel real good. Now I can get ready to go back to school and chase those girls in gym and sit down and eat with them at lunch. I can now be a kid again. I can now go back to my friend's house and finish out the rest of that football game and play some video games. I felt great coming out of surgery, and my mother's gripping my hand in the hospital as I'm sitting up on the bed, wondering when we gonna sign them papers so I can get up out of here, out of here. The doctor walks in his lab coat, white lab coat, and his stethoscope. He pulls it down and barely looks at me, and he's looking down at his paper, ruffling at it. My mother's hand, her 5'3" frame, grips tighter on my hand. And I'm wondering what's going on, because you could cut the tension in the room with a knife. The doctor looks at his papers and he looks at me and he says, Eddie, don't be ready to go so quickly. You have what we call a diagnosis. And I'm thinking, diagnosis of what? He says, you have what we call NHL. Thinking to myself, NHL, I'm getting ready to be youngest owner of a National Hockey League team. He says, no, you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Non-Hodgkin's what? What in the world is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma? He says you have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 stage 4 cancer. Stage 4 cancer. What? You can't get that till you're 70, 80 years of age. What are you talking about? Stage 4 cancer, am I going to die? Anything I've heard about stage 4 cancer means that I'm preparing for death. And in that moment, I thought I died. He says to me, and as I'm shaking my head, as I'm scratching my head, as a tear streams down my face, and it was the first tear in years. Felt like I was Denzel Washington in the movie Glory. I hadn't cried. My mother grips my hand, and the doctor doesn't even give me an opportunity to embrace the thought. He doesn't even give me a hug, doesn't even try to hug me with his words. He says, Eddie, don't ask why. So what in the world are you saying to me? You my physician. How you my psychologist too? As we go back home that same day, the doctor gives my mother orders about what's to come. And it's the longest ride home seemingly ever in my life. And my mother grips my hand, and a small lady with gigantic faith, and she said, it's going to be all right. You're going to get through this. God didn't bring you this far to only bring you this far. And as chemotherapy, she would leave work as a teacher and take me and pick me up in the morning from school, because I was out of school my sophomore year of high school and couldn't go with other kids. She'd take me to that hospital, and I'd go into that cancer center begrudgingly and with my head down, not wanting to go, and it would be time for chemotherapy and radiation treatments. And I'd sit in this big chair in the cancer center looking at all the other young kids with masks over their face, with emaciated bodies, wondering, would that be me next? And sometimes you stop seeing those kids and you know what happens. And I had small veins. I still do to this day have small veins, and the doctors would put a butterfly clip implanted under my skin, whether it was a Metaport, and sometimes they couldn't do it through that, and so they put the vein and sometimes even force it and wiggle it around, and I'd be so mad I'd almost cuss at the nurse because she's pushing this clip and this needle under my skin with no type of care, no TLC at all for me. And I'd feel the chemotherapy rush into my veins, and it felt as if I could feel the poison right through my bloodstream, and it was so bad that I could literally taste it. Something that I'd go through that I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy. And I'd be in that cancer center. My mind was rushing everywhere, thinking about my parents' divorce, thinking about, where is my dad? Never showed up for me one day in the hospital. Between my earthly father and my heavenly father, I was mad at both of them. To say, my God, why have you forsaken me? The people who I thought were praying for me were literally praying on me, whispering behind my back, saying, Eddie's not going to make it. And now that doubt seeped into my mind. But I'm grateful for a praying mama. I don't know about you, but my mama prayed for me. I remember her praying for me, had me on her mind, took the time to pray for me. She said, son, you got to go to Psalm 118 and 17, which says, you shall not die, but live and declare the works of the Lord. She said, son, everybody gets knocked down in life, but a knockdown is not a knockout unless you stay down. The canvas is no place for a champion. You got to get back up, bounce back from a setback, and fight again. And each and every single day, I began to stop feeling sorry for myself because I was so depressed. I was so discombobulated. I wanted to give up. I wanted to throw in the towel. I didn't even want to be here. But it was a mother's love for me that made me fight and not give up, but hope against all hope. And I'd look in the morning after waking up and getting the chemotherapy and radiation treatment, and it just made me so sick. It made me so nauseous. Had no strength for anything. And I'd wake up in the morning after tying my hair up in a wave cap. And I'd take my wave cap off in the morning as I rose from the bed. And all of a sudden, I put my hands in my hair. And I'd look at the white pillowcase and see that my hair follicles were sprinkled on that pillowcase. My black hair follicles on that white pillowcase, and my hair follicles in that wave cap. I put my hands in my hair, and I woke up one morning, I saw clumps of hair in my hands, and I ran to the bathroom so fast, and I saw half of my hair gone. And I cried like I never cried before. I screamed so loud that my mother came and just embraced me. She didn't even know necessarily what to say. I didn't even want her to say anything, but I just wanted her to be there for me. Because I saw my own body breaking down, coming to the grips of who I was. And I said to myself, I can't do this no more. I'm ready to go. I don't want to fight again. My father's not there. People don't think I can make it. I don't think I can make it. Let me go, mama. She was stingy with her son. She didn't let me go to the grave, and she wouldn't let me go from her embrace. And I began to look in that same mirror where I said I wanted to give up. And not too many days after, I made a commitment to myself, and I decided to be determined to dig deep within, because I was caught between masculinity and vulnerability. And oftentimes, men, we don't verbalize, we internalize. Oftentimes we see vulnerability as femininity, and I began to dig deep within my vulnerability and decide that I'm going to love myself. Decide that I'm going to know my worth, because oftentimes we're more like T'Challa than Black Panther. We're more like Clark Kent than Superman. We're more like the Hulk than David Banner. And in many cases, I was dealing with the anger internally, and I decided to deal with the anger. I decided to come to grips with my father not being there, but I decided to be there for me and to love me. And I began to look in that same mirror and say, Eddie, you're going to make it. Eddie, this cancer is a crucifixion, but it will become a place of resurrection. Eddie, you can live again. You can dream. Because it seemed as if I'd never go to my prom. It seemed as if I'd never be able to play on the basketball team again. It seemed as if life would never be what it was ever for me ever again. But I began to heal and live through dying places. If we had the movie The Color Purple on the screen, I could tell you, just like Sophia, all my life, I had to fight. But I discovered that you can use your test as a testimony. Your misery becomes ministry. Your mess is a message. Your stumbling block is a stepping stone. And what God will do is he'll use your setback as a setup for your greatest comeback. He'll use your tragedy as strategy. And that's why I could step right back and stand and look at that guy in that convenience center who inconvenienced me, who said, I thought you died. And I can tell them, you know what? You're right. I thought I died too. But if I died at all, I died to your doubt. If I died at all, I died to those who I thought were praying for me, but were literally praying on me. If I died at all, I died to the fact that I could bounce back from a setback and I wouldn't have to live beneath my privilege. But as you can see, bruh, I didn't die. I'm alive because I survived. And I don't only survive, but I thrive. I found the can in cancer to where I didn't just get down on myself, but this is what I did, bruh. I turned my test into a testimony. I turned my stumbling block into a stepping stone by writing 13 books. I decided to mentor young men who were just like me, with a father absent from their life, and tell them, you can overcome, you can move from just being a boy to actually being a man. I decided to give back and teach in the high school system and teach even on a college campus as we're here now. I decided to say I'm going to live through dying places, because in the midst of the madness, there's a method. And I could tell you, like the rapper Method Man would say, we don't die, we multiply. And as you can see, tonight I'm alive. God bless you. Thank you.